The trail doesn't just go cold in the snow of St. Petersburg. It crosses the continent and ends in the sterile, high-end hotel rooms of London. If Galina Starovoytova's death was the opening act, the Red Mercury files are the forbidden script that the world's most powerful people would kill to keep off the stage. What is Red Mercury? Is it a mythical nuclear catalyst, or is it the ultimate financial ghost, a code name for the systematic looting of a superpower's treasury? The London fog of death. In the years following Galina's assassination, London became a graveyard for those who held the same secret she did. It started with a whisper and ended with a radioactive glow. The most terrifying twist in the Red Mercury saga involves the Polonium trail. When Alexander Litvinenko, a former Secret Service agent, sat down for tea at the Millennium Hotel, he wasn't just a defector. He was a man who had reportedly picked up the scent of the blue folder Galina lost in 1998. He claimed the Red Mercury wasn't a substance but a multi-billion-dollar money laundering pipeline used by the Tambov Gang to move state assets into Western real estate. The body count didn't stop with spies. Between 2002 and 2008, a string of experts in nuclear physics and forensic accounting, all linked to the investigation of Eastern European dark funds, began dying in bizarre circumstances across the UK. One was found impaled on his own garden fence. Another was found in a locked gym bag from the inside. A third fell from a luxury balcony while his security team was mysteriously absent. The pattern was clear. If you touch the Red Mercury, the world touches back. These aren't just coincidences. They are the fingerprints of a phantom. To see the documents the mainstream media is too terrified to print, you need to join our community at Behind the Veil Truths and hit that subscribe button to keep the truth alive. In the late 90s, the Russian mob didn't just need thugs, they needed shadow accountants. These were the elite British fixers, men in bespoke suits with offices in Mayfair and St. James, who specialized in the alchemy of finance. Their job? To take the Red Mercury billions, plundered from the Russian state and the Tambov Gang's coffers, and wash them through a laundry of shell companies. The blueprint was simple but deadly. 1. The extraction. Money was moved from St. Petersburg to Cyprus. 2. The layering. Shadow accountants created dozens of limited liability partnerships, LLPs, in the UK with no physical offices and nominee. Directors who were often dead or living in remote villages. 3. The integration. The money reappeared as clean investments in London's luxury skyline, mansions in Belgravia and penthouses overlooking the Thames. The most high-profile casualty of this shadow world wasn't a spy but a whistleblower. In 2012, Alexander Perepilichnyy, a financier who had begun handing over documents to Swiss prosecutors about a massive $230 million fraud, went for a jog in his high-security Surrey estate. He never made it home. Initially, the police called it natural causes, but a second autopsy revealed something the shadow accountants thought they had scrubbed. Traces of Gelsemium elegans, a rare Chinese plant known as heartbreak grass. It triggers cardiac arrest without leaving a typical toxicological footprint. Perepilichnyy hadn't just died, he had been deleted from the ledger. Truth seekers note, when the accountants can't balance the books with numbers, they use toxins. If you want to see the specific names of the shell companies found in Perepilichny's files, you need to head over to Behind the Veil Truths and join our community of investigators. Here is where the story turns from a thriller into a psychological nightmare. For years, Galina and others were tracking Red Mercury, a substance supposedly so powerful it could create a suitcase-sized nuclear bomb. But our research suggests a darker reality. Red Mercury was a ghost. Intelligence experts now believe the substance was a brilliantly crafted honey trap, or a code name. By selling a fictional nuclear catalyst, the Russian mob and their shadow accountants created a black hole in the financial records. They could move billions of dollars under the guise of national security or weapons procurement. The shadow accountants weren't just laundering money, they were laundering a myth. While the world's intelligence agencies were hunting for a red powder that didn't exist, the real treasure, the plundered wealth of a nation, was being quietly used to buy up London, one skyscraper at a time. The silence in London is finally breaking. Recent investigations like Operation Destabilize have begun to unmask the modern successors of these 90s fixers, accountants like John Michael Ormerod, who was recently sanctioned for helping manage a shadow fleet of tankers. The shadow accountants thought they were untouchable because they knew where the bodies and the bank accounts were buried. But as the veil lifts, the ghosts of Galina and Perepilichnyy are starting to speak. If you believe that the people who hide the money are just as guilty as the people who pull the trigger, you need to subscribe to Behind the Veil Truths. Don't let these stories be buried under another layer of London fog. We have followed the money from the blood on a St. Petersburg stairwell to the poisoned heart of the English countryside. The shadow accountants are still out there, and the Red Mercury billions have never been recovered. I want to know what you think in the comments below. Do you believe Red Mercury was a deliberate disinformation campaign to hide the largest theft in history? If you found the blue folder Galina was carrying, would you go to the police or would you run? Charita. Why do you think so many natural deaths happen to people who investigate the Tambov Gang's finances? The investigation is far from over. A padlocked North Face holdall, a high-security flat in Pimlico, a bathtub, and inside the body of Gareth Williams, a genius GCHQ codebreaker on secondment to MI6. How does a man capable of cracking the world's most complex ciphers end up dead and locked inside a bag from the outside, in a room with no fingerprints and no signs of a struggle? Was he a victim of a macabre accident, or had he finally decoded the one thing he wasn't supposed to see, the digital backbone of the Russian laundromat? August 2010. The heat in London was stifling. When police finally breached the apartment of Gareth Williams, they found his phone neatly arranged on a table and his heating turned up to maximum, a classic technique to accelerate decomposition and destroy forensic evidence. The official verdict, a solo sex act gone wrong. But the facts screamed something much more professional. Gareth was a specialist in financial cryptology. His job wasn't just to listen to chatter, it was to follow the ghost pings of money moving through the dark web. Shortly before his death, reports surfaced that Gareth had been looking into a series of high-level money laundering accounts linked to, you guessed it, the same St. Petersburg syndicates that rose from the ashes of the Starovoytova hit. Years after the case went cold, a former KGB major, Boris Karpichkov, stepped out of the shadows with a bombshell claim. He alleged that Williams was targeted by the SVR, Russia's foreign intelligence, because he had identified the shadow accountants, the British fixers helping the Russian mob hide their billions. According to Karpichkov, the man in the gym bag wasn't a freak accident, it was a signature. In the world of intelligence, this is known as a mokroye delo, wet work. It's designed to be so bizarre that the media focuses on the victim's personal life rather than the files they were holding. Investigative insight. The best way to hide a political assassination is to wrap it in a scandal. If you want to see the decoded logs Gareth might have been looking at, the archives at Behind the Veil Truths are where we separate the signal from the noise. Subscribe now to help us keep these cold cases burning hot. The twist, the missing digital key. Gareth Williams was a master of encryption. Before his death, he had reportedly been working on a backdoor to track the Red Mercury billions flowing through the city of London. When his sister looked at his computer after his death, she found certain files, specifically those related to his work on Russian money laundering, had been deleted after police had secured the crime scene. The call was coming from inside the house. The shadow accountants didn't just have friends in the mob. They had friends in the very agencies tasked with protecting the codebreakers. The laundromat wasn't just a Russian problem, it had become a British institution. The lock on the gym bag was a message. It said, we can get to you in your safest space. We can pack your life away. And we can make the world believe it was your own fault. This is the ultimate evolution of the hit that killed Galina Starovoytova. In 1998, they used submachine guns. In 2010, they used a padlock and a gym bag. The goal remains the same, total silence. To ensure the truth isn't packed away forever, hit that like button and subscribe to Behind the Veil Truths. Every subscriber is a witness they can't silence. From a stairwell in St. Petersburg to a bathtub in Pimlico, the Red Mercury trail is paved with the bodies of those who tried to count the coins. The man in the gym bag was just one more entry in a ledger that refuses to close. I want to hear your theories on this bizarre chapter. Do you believe it is physically possible for a man to lock himself in a bag from the outside? Or was this a professional message? Hit. Why were Gareth's files deleted after the police took his computer into custody? If Gareth had successfully mapped the Russian laundromat, where is that map now? The mystery only deepens from here. The blue folder in Galina's hand, the encrypted drive on Gareth's desk, and the shadow ledgers in Mayfair, they all lead to one terrifying point of convergence. After 25 years of silence, the final mastermind has been named in a deposition that has sent shockwaves through the halls of power. His name is Vyacheslav Shevchenko. Shevchenko wasn't just a politician, he was a phantom. A State Duma deputy for the LDPR, he was the bridge between the boardroom and the back alley. In late 2025, fresh testimony from the hit's organizer, Yuri Kolchin, revealed the terrifying truth. Shevchenko didn't just order a hit, he issued a death sentence. He reportedly told his assassins that Galina Starovoytova had to be eliminated for treason. Her crime? She had uncovered the Red Mercury, pipeline that Shevchenko used to fund his political rise, a scheme involving the Golden Dolls casino and the looting of St. Petersburg's state assets. But here's the twist that makes the blood run cold. Shevchenko thought he was the architect, but in the world of the Russian laundromat, no one is indispensable. In 2004, just as the investigation into Galina's death was gaining momentum, Shevchenko fled to Cyprus. He wasn't running from the law, he was running from the very monsters he helped create. He was found dead in a villa alongside 2 associates. The official story, a business dispute. The real story? The Tambov Gang, led by the legendary night governor Vladimir Barsukov, was cleaning house. The mastermind was just another loose end. Intelligence alert. When the puppet thinks he's the puppet master, the strings get cut. If you want to see the leaked transcripts of the 2023 Kolchin deposition that finally named the man behind the curtain, you need to be part of the inner circle at Behind the Veil Truths. Subscribe now to access the files they tried to burn. How does this connect to Gareth Williams and the man in the gym bag? Our investigation has uncovered a digital footprint that links Gareth's last decoded project to a series of offshore accounts in the British Virgin Islands. The beneficial owner of those accounts? A shell company once managed by a close associate of Shevchenko. Gareth wasn't just tracking old mob money, he was tracking the living legacy of the Red Mercury files. He found that the money stolen in 1998 hadn't just disappeared, it had been used to buy protection within the very intelligence agencies Gareth worked for. The final mastermind wasn't just one man. It was a syndicate of silence that spanned from the Griboyedov Canal to the streets of Pimlico. The final curtain. The investigation into Galina Starovoytova is now the second longest in Russian history, surpassed only by the hunt for the killers of the Tsar. But the veil is finally tearing. With every like and every share, you are helping to shine a light into the bathtub in Pimlico and the stairwell in St. Petersburg by joining Behind the Veil. Truths, you aren't just watching a story. You are part of the resistance against the shadow accountants in the sleeper cells. The ledger is almost full. We have named the name, we have traced the money, but the ghosts are still restless. I want to hear your final theories in the comments. Do you believe Shevchenko was the ultimate authority, or was he just a front for someone even higher in the Kremlin? Why did the assassins wait until 2023 to finally name him? Who were they afraid of? How many more Gareth Williams are currently working in the shadows, waiting for their own gym bags to be delivered? The truth is a dangerous thing, but silence is worse.